everyone. Thank you for tuning in to your Come Up YouTube channel. We're going to get into a conversation here with Bennett Sperber. If you like what you watch, go ahead and drop us a like, hit the subscribe button, and don't forget to hit the bell notification so you don't miss your come up. Good morning, Ben. How you doing today?
Good. Thanks for having me, Nathan.
Oh, thanks for coming all the way from Ontario. I thought it was a 50-mile drive, but he corrected me.
It's 80 miles.
80 miles. Yeah. That's bad.
Escape, hop, and a jump.
There you go. So, Ben, for those that don't know who you are, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So my name's Bennet Sperber. I'm one of four now. I'm the third. My son's the fourth.
There you go.
I'm a managing partner with Modern Woodmen. We're a fraternal financial services organization, so assisting families and small business owners with all their financial planning needs. My family, I've got a wife and son, so wife of now a year and a half.
More financial planning with that.
Yeah, plenty there. And then my son just turned 2 last Friday.
Oh, congratulations, awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Celebrated his birthday, but been a desert native most of my life, and now I'm out in Ontario, California. Work's brought me out there.
But you work remotely too, right?
Yeah, well, I'm in the office pretty much every day, or in a office. Today I'm in our Rancho Mirage office.
So you started in financial services pretty young. I mean, we're in an age where guys your age don't think about finances.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, what was the point in your life where you said financial services, this is what I want to do, this is my purpose, this is it for me?
Yeah, I started at 24 in the field. That fly is getting us.
Yeah, we are not going to be that internet meme like that with that fly.
I started at 24. I've always had an interest in numbers and money and understanding how it works. Living through the Great Recession, I wasn't working at the time. I was still playing soccer, and just seeing all the transitions there. I've always had an interest, but it actually kind of fell into my lap. I went to school at the UCR Business School and studied there, where I ran into our director at a career fair.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And at that point, I had just gotten surgery, just got injured a few months prior. So I was looking now to get into a new field. I didn't really know which field I was going into, so it kind of fell in my lap. And when I saw exactly what it was that we do, it's been right up my alley. I just didn't know that was an opportunity. The average age in our industry is in their 50s. Yeah, so I was less than half.
I don't think you and I combined are 50.
Yeah, yeah. And in my role, the average age of a supervisory role is 57.
Oh, wow.
And so, it's had its unique challenges. I get little comments and things from time to time from people that have been in the industry longer. But once people understand the importance, and that's where I think a lot of the struggle comes when I'm working with younger people, although most of my clientele are in their 40s, 50s, and 60s.
Right.
But working with the younger folks, once they see the numbers and understand the math, I mean, you can't really defeat logic.
No, you can't. The compound interest is powerful, isn't it?
Yeah, that rule of 72 is a tricky thing.
Yeah, for those, go ahead and explain what the rule of 72 for those that may not know what it is.
Sure. So you can compute it 2 different ways. Rule of 72 is saying essentially how fast is your money doubling. So if you hear someone say, okay, I'm going to have an 8% rate of return on this hypothetical, for example, then you're going to know that that's going to double every 9 years. You take the 72 divided by the 8, that equals 9, so 8% equals the 9 year.
Nice.
And you can do it the opposite way. So I want my money to double in 9 years. What rate of return do I need? So 72 divided by 9, 8%.
Okay, there you go. In your field where you're talking to clients about finances, I know I struggled with this before I started the channel, thinking, I'm too old to start a YouTube channel. Leave it for the young Gen Z. But in your case, when you're talking to someone about finances, investments, life insurance, or planning for their future, what challenges do you deal with when, I don't want to say the O word, but a person that maybe lived a little bit longer is looking at you like, you're talking about money with me, young man? Like, how do you overcome that, or how do you deal with that?
The experience factor.
Okay.
Right? That's the lack of, and when you look at it from a time perspective. But for me, in my career, it's been a pretty short career when you look at the longevity of my life, but I put a lot of work in.
Yeah.
I've read a lot.
we all have a start somewhere, right?
Yep, and I have the pleasure of working with people who have done this a lot longer than me. So I don't ever claim as if I know everything. Fundamentally, I can put together, a plan for someone and assist them with what they need. But if I don't know something, I don't say I do. So I'll go back and get the answer and come back with the solution. And I think that's always helped me. Even working, the average age of my client is around 50 years of age. So almost twice my age. And I think them understanding that, seeing that as we go through our conversations, that I do have the knowledge. I don't necessarily have the experience, but I can go to folks who do have that experience as well.
There you go. I mean, it's awesome, man. It's one of those, sometimes you have to, because we all have a start. So you have to do things you're a little not ready for. And then once you do it, deal with it, endure, and you will have your breakthrough. I mean, you can't go to the next chapter without literally going to the next chapter. No. My problems today are very different than when I started it at 24. Oh my goodness.
Very different today. Yeah.
I think when I met you, you were 24, 25.
25, 26.
Okay.
Somewhere in there.
When I met Ben, I was married. I only had one child. I think my son was not even an embryo as of yet. But when I met Ben, Ben made me realize the importance of having life insurance, term life insurance, for if anything happens to me, my wife, who's now my ex, will be stuck with the kids, and you need to think about that. And then, starting a 529A with you for my kids, and just doing a minimal investment amount to make sure when college is ready for them. Though I will never admit to my kids they have a 529 until way later in life. But
that's how you need to spend it.
Yeah, exactly. So no, thank you for that. It really opened my eyes, and that was the genesis of helping me finish one of my books, the Earn More books, where it opened my eyes on, okay, well, how else can you grow your money? You always got to I wish I would have done the 10%, take 10%, save it when I was making money in college. Even if it was just $100 a month, oh my God, I would have a lot more money by now, you know? So with that being said, how do you talk to the younger crowd? Is it more easier to talk to them because like, okay, we see someone we can relate to, like, hey, this is my Instagram kind of buddy right here, or?
So it's funny, the initial conversation, I mean, we're hiring a lot of folks. I hired 3 people this year.
Okay.
2 of those are straight off the college campus. So they're younger. And so they're working with younger people, mid-20s, late 20s. The initial conversation is always the struggle of getting the actual sit down and the appointment. Really, in all reality, when we actually sit down with young people, we don't really struggle that much because we can speak the same language.
We speak millennial, we speak Gen Z too.
Exactly, and all of their problems they I had. But I recognized that it was a problem, and I was willing to fix it. So that's the main thing is the person I'm sitting down with, age, sex, doesn't matter. Are they willing to make change to better their financial future? And most people want to.
Right.
So I think once that door opens, it's a really simple conversation. And as Eve sat down with me, I try and make things as simple as possible and take the complexity of a technique or a fundamental understanding and then put it into English rather than what we read online. And that helps a lot as well.
Okay. Have you ever sat with a client that said, I know I need to invest, I just don't have the money to invest? And obviously in life there's 2 ways to have more money, make more or spend less.
Yep.
I prefer making more, but you have to know when to cut out or trim as well. Is there any tips or principles you can shed on people who may feel like I have no money to invest, on how to maybe trim some things? Or?
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, first and foremost, the easiest way to know what to trim.
Don't say Starbucks.
No.
Okay.
Start a budget sheet.
Okay.
So it's I always use the example. So I played all sports my whole life. I played basketball, baseball. I played soccer. I played football 1 year, but baseball, basketball, soccer. And when I grew up, we kept score.
Right.
So it's kind of like going to that game. Imagine you went to a major league game or you went to a professional football, basketball, baseball, soccer game, and there was no scoreboard. Would you have as much fun?
No, you wouldn't.
And so now let's go into your personal life, financials. A budget sheet, that's your scoreboard.
Okay.
And so if you're not keeping score, what's the score? So I always like to start there and break it down. What's your income? What's your expenses? But put it on paper, because what we find is there's typically a few areas that people really, really struggle with. And without even saying it, I bet you Nathan can answer what the number one thing I see with middle America and their overspending. Where do you think somebody spends most of their surplus?
Starbucks, coffee.
Eating out. Eating out, whether it's Starbucks, coffee, whether it's dining out, whether it's going somewhere on the weekends, especially with younger people.
Oh gosh, no, I've had to cook more with these kids.
Yep. And now it's, you're talking about in some cases $1,000 of overspending right there. So typically, you're right, it's the trimming aspect. We can't always control the income aspect.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
I know you can negotiate that with your book.
Yeah,
on the income aspect. But I'm saying immediate change, it's typically going to be trimming first.
Trimming first. It's principle, So any more you could shed on that, or budget sheet like an Excel spreadsheet, or does modern women have a?
I have a budget sheet that we use, which again, I know you're going to put contact information out there for both you and myself. If anyone would like that, that's free.
Do you have a link for that?
I have a PDF.
I'll put your contact and then they can email you or whatnot.
Or you, and I can send it to you as well.
Perfect. Yeah, I'll love to include it in my next newsletter too.
Yeah.
Awesome. I know you can't say specific investment advice. I mean, because what works for you doesn't work for others.
Sure.
And my investments, I like to go more aggressive. That's just me.
Yep. So if you and I were having a conversation privately, I know exactly how to do it. But some of your viewers might not have the same.
Yeah, you'll be like Tom Brady. Just chuck it 80 yards and you're good. But what investment tips can you share, if you can share any, with someone that's clueless about? Because the word investing in stocks and things you probably can't control probably trembles a lot of average folks that may not know a thing or two about that.
It's funny you said average. I'd actually just say most Americans.
Okay.
Because we're not taught this in school.
Heck no. This is something.
Unless you went to school specifically for it.
Even then.
Oh, you'd be surprised.
Oh.
I hire a lot of finance majors that don't understand the basic fundamentals of investing, but then it depends on the school too. Some schools do very well with that. So let me take a step back on your question. I always like to first start with take emotion out of investing.
That's where the fun is at.
That's where the fun's at. A lot of folks will, make decisions in the wrong times and lose money, and we've heard all of the comments in the past. I always like to use Warren Buffett quote to back up that. Be fearful when others are greedy, and only be greedy when others are fearful.
There you go. Okay.
And what he's saying is when you see somebody making a certain move in the majority, it's an emotional move, which typically is not the right move.
Like when the stock market. Okay.
If that's how you interpret that.
Okay.
And so, but you want to be patient as well. Patience is a big part of investing. My number 2 to that is work with a financial professional. Doesn't matter, well, it should matter who it is. They should have a reputation or rapport within their community, and people, they should at least have some form of introduction initially to get to know that individual, which is what we always have in our initial sit downs. But working with a financial professional, you'll at least get the fundamental techniques and understanding to know exactly how to invest. There's all sorts of buy low, sell high, dollar cost average, and we've heard, timing the market. Warren Buffett.
No, you cannot time it.
Warren Buffett quote, it's not timing the market, it's time in the market. So the sooner you start, the better.
There you go.
The sooner you start, historically speaking, the higher rate of return on that portfolio.
Awesome.
Which is why somebody like yourself, like you mentioned, starting things for your kids, you're putting them in a great situation.
Oh yeah. My daughter's 4 years old. She has more money than me.
Off to a good start. We gotta change that.
Already, you need to find a new daddy.
Yeah.
So, joking aside, for those that are want to consider a financial planner or advisor, my personal advice: talk to this man right here. But what tips can you give to someone, like if you're going to vet? What questions would you suggest they ask or look for, or tips you could provide on that?
So we really have always built our practice on the nature of getting introductions, so referrals from folks, and that kind of vets people for them. But when you're sitting down, I truly believe that people have gut feelings towards something, and typically your gut is in the right place.
No, I do, yeah.
Yeah. And so having that initial conversation, I mean, I will say this, when I started in the career, I had a very different start than where I am at today. Obviously, I think anyone can say that in their career. But I'm not necessarily trying to acquire that piece of business in the first time I sit down with somebody. I'm really trying to get to know Nathan and what is Nathan trying to accomplish, and to see if it's going to be a good relationship. And if that's the type of experience that you come across, it's probably going to be a good fit. There's a million different strategies out there. People oppose certain things or for certain things, and then you can go to somebody else that's the complete opposite view.
Okay.
So it's about finding that person that you know and trust that's going to take you to that next level in your portfolio. I don't have necessarily a series of questions of any sort that you can ask. I'm more on the acquisition side of the business rather than the seeking out counsel. But I do believe that you'll know right away from that first meeting if it's somebody that you trust and that you think is going to do the right thing.
Kind of like felt like this person has my best interests at heart. And when I met Ben, I don't know how many In-N-Out burgers and sandwiches you bought me before I wrote you a check.
Part of the business, huh?
Part of the business. I'm like, I know he's just starting, but I am hungry. My wife doesn't cook.
They take advantage of me. I don't forget these things. Yeah.
Well, I've been a client and still am a client. Is there any last words or tips that you want to shed light on to the people watching today?
Yeah. I work with a lot of county employees, city employees, small business owners. And when you look at those groups of people, they typically have A, very good benefits, and B, very good income. I oftentimes hear the comment, we've got everything taken care of, or they should be okay, or they make a lot of money. In fact, those are trigger words for me to know that they're probably not in the best situation possible for them.
And I'm not going to buy you a sandwich.
Yeah, no sandwich. But for example, I work with a lot of law enforcement. I work with a lot of sheriffs, and they get incredible benefits. And with those incredible benefits come gaps and holes that need to be filled. Not like the traditional employee of America that might have one benefit, might have two benefits. They have a series of benefits. So there's not going to be as many gaps to fill, but there are still gaps where I can take them from essentially good to great.
There you go.
And that's so if you are in a position where you feel like you're content and you're doing it all yourself, you're probably in a good position, not necessarily a great position. I
think I know what you mean, but correct me if I'm not there. I think when you're talking about when people in that field, firefighters, policemen, or in that field where they said we're taken care of, they're talking about their 401k where they're getting a tax break for putting the money in that investment vehicle, right?
And a pension.
And a pension.
Both. Yeah.
What about, in my case, when I met with you, it's like, it makes sense to have a Roth where I'm getting a tax break putting the money in, but I don't want to pay tax when I pull money out of this Roth when I come to that age. So this money, I don't get a tax break putting it in, but when it grows, I don't have to pay taxes on that. Where over here, Uncle Sam wants me to pull out. And he wants his taxes back. Is that kind of where you're? Okay.
That's one of the pieces of advice that I'm alluding to. Are you in a position to control your taxable situation in retirement?
No, we don't know. No, we're not, because we don't know what taxes will be later.
Right, but you've just mentioned you have a Roth. you've put yourself in a position.
With you.
Well,
Don't be so modest.
Well, I can't state your personal items.
I said
repeat what you said.
I said it.
Okay.
No fine print needed.
So you've put yourself in a position where you can determine your taxable scenario in retirement in theory. And a lot of people in those titles I just mentioned aren't in a position to do so.
Right.
And that's an attractive vehicle to use to get there. There's plenty of other situations, but that's something, we just came from a law enforcement appreciation breakfast this morning.
It wasn't a sandwich, but I'll take bacon and eggs and toast any day.
And so we as a firm work with quite a few folks in that realm.
Giving back, building trust first. In sales, every day in life we're selling, but before people buy into your product, you got to sell yourself first. And it's one of those things, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Agreed.
So it's old school, but and us being new
Still
school,
works.
it still works. Old school has a lot that still works.
It does.
New school might add some to it.
Yeah.
And sometimes we add a little too much to it.
Yeah, I'm definitely your old school millennial.
There you go.
Sure. Yeah.
I know, you show up in a suit and tie for this interview.
Yeah.
It's like, you're offering me a job already? Or
Gotta apply for that one.
Yeah. There you go. Well, thanks again, Ben, for popping in today.
Yeah, thank you for
It's been
having
a pleasure.
me. Yeah, it's always fun to catch up with you. I appreciate it. Congratulations on all your books and everything
thank
you got
you.
going on. I have not had the pleasure of reading them yet, but now that we've gotten this concluded,
You are an
I am
audiobook
obligated to now read all the books.
Well, you're an audiobook person, so and
I
you
am.
do drive you probably don't drive a lot with COVID now. So.
COVID. Here's the thing: COVID will eventually end. So when it does, I'll be driving a lot again. So
There you go.
I'll be listening up.
Awesome, man.
All right.
Take care, brother.
Thank you.